whatever, bad, negative, I won't say vibes, but
Vibes, yeah.
vibes come
Send out the bad
across.
vibes.
Send-
Send away them bad vibes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like that you say vibes because, again, this is about language and culture. So the way we're going to express that negativity,
Yeah.
it's a vibe,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
send out that negative vibe. So now we're going to part 3 where we're going to talk a bit about words and culture. So you speak English and French and a little bit of Spanish, and the viewers might not know that you spent some time in the UK and also
Yeah.
in France. How different was English and French, the language and the experience when you were in UK and France? Talk about some differences.
Well, I'll start with France because I spent time there first. And in France, my French is not their French. And they know it. From the minute I open my mouth, you're not from here.
Yeah.
Over the phone, they can tell.
Yeah.
And that was always a challenge for me because it's never, I'm not speaking in your accent. I can't. Even if I try to, you can still know that I'm not you. I'm not from France, although I'm French.
Right.
But that's something that's really, I think it kept me back a lot up there because of that part of being able to express myself in French and not being able to be understood the way I know I'm expressing it. Now in England, it's a different way as well. It's completely different. I'm speaking, but I'm trying to speak as proper as possible, but I can't in their accent.
Yes.
We're talking about English.
Oh yes, the British.
The British.
Yes.
You just cannot go and fake it. They're gonna know you're faking it.
Yeah.
So
Wait, when you were up there, were you also code switching and doing like the British English too?
Sometimes I tried, but there was this colleague of mine who was like, "I like how you're saying no." I'm like, "Why? What? How am I saying no?" You're like, "No."
I love it.
I'm laughing.
The British know.
Yeah, they know. They know. And they wouldn't really catch on that I'm starting to speak a lot like them because I stayed there a year. It's speaking to someone back home.
They'll be like,
They realize
girl,
that
why you sound like that?
Yeah, like, what are you doing?
Well, it's natural, when people spend time somewhere over a period of time that you start to pick up their sound, their mannerism. No, and that is so interesting that you said that because I'm sure being an English speaker, maybe, you're like, okay, here is going to be more comfortable because this is my language. I know this, but then it's like, wait, but this is different too.
Yeah, it was different too. I needed them to understand me, so I would speak as proper as I could, but sometimes maybe they wouldn't catch on and I would have to repeat now and then because it's a normal thing. It's different accents. Yes. They're not hearing what I say every day. And that is what it was.
And I mean that, sometimes I think I had to realize that sometimes we beat ourselves up for that because even when I was working around like Canadians or Americans, so sometimes we feel like we have to like up our language so much more. But you know what? Even when I was in the US, like people in the South speak differently than people from the North.
Exactly.
Even in the Caribbean, if in
England and
Jamaican, it's all going to be different.
Yep.
But I think the biggest challenge for us as St. Martiners and as Caribbean people to realize is just because we speak differently doesn't mean that it's less than. It's just it's different, So it's about owning the way we speak, our nuances, and respecting that comes from somewhere too, and not seeing it like, oh, okay,
like it's not good enough.
Yeah, like that's lower than
that's part of culture.
Exactly, it's a part of culture.
I think even the feeling of you feel that it's less than is part of culture because I remember being here and just speaking my raw. I mean, growing up, my raw English, and my mom got married, so my stepfather would be like, "That's not the way you say this. Say it like this instead." He is who taught us to speak proper. We still had the accent, but we weren't, the raw.
Yeah.
So then I realized, wow.
And where is he from?
He's from Dominica.
Dominica.
He's from Dominica, and he speaks proper. You can't tell he's from Dominica. He doesn't have that accent. So that's when I realized, okay, so if I speak the way I know here speaks, probably people wouldn't understand me as much. And because he taught me to speak proper and how to make the difference, I know how to make the difference if I go like in a administration office.
Yes,
So if I
yes.
meet someone on the road, or someone who's not from here, I know how to make the difference and how to start to speak proper.
Yeah.
Well, proper.
Yeah. Everything in
Yeah.
is relative to your experience, and that's so interesting what you say. I feel like I have a experience because my dad is from Nevis, he's from a British island, my mom is from St. Martin, French side, and she always said when she was growing up, like, you know, like, yeah, they thought that they could speak English till like they went to school, and then the English teachers like correcting them, and you know, because they would be like,
That's so
because
true.
like they'd be like girl, and you know, it's only from school, and they say, oh, it's not girl, it's girl.
Girl.
Things that they would say is only then it was like, oh, okay, like I thought I could speak this language, but feeling
in
like,
fact.
oh, I in fact is different too. But at that time, again, I don't think anyone was there to tell them, but you have your own
And it's
dialect.
good. And your
own-
dialect is good. That happens,
Yeah.
I think, and I know because I went to school in Martinique. The same for in Creole. Martinique and the Guadeloupeans, their Creole, people started to devalue it.
Yes.
Even
Yeah.
at home, their
Yeah.
family were like, no,
Yes,
speak
I've heard
French
so
because
many
you're going to
stories like that.
school.
Exactly.
You cannot speak Creole.
Yes.
You
Yes.
get, it's as if you'll get in trouble for
Yeah.
speaking Creole. Like, speak
Yeah.
the proper French. Speak
Yes.
French. So we just devalue our culture, that part of us, that language, that cultural language that we have.
Yeah, and I think that it's no understanding to what you were saying before. There's a place for everything. But what we don't want is to build a culture and a community where something is eradicated, don't do this, don't ever, and then if that generation doesn't speak it at all, then it's not passed on to the next. And then
Yeah.
after a while, that language is gone. Like, we're going on a tangent, but that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this, because I find more and more that the more educated we are becoming, the more our sound, what a St. Martin sound like, it is
It's
it's changing.
It's
It is changing. And it's because of like a heavy influence. And I think that you could have a St. Martin accent and still have a standardized version of that. It doesn't mean that you have to sound like somebody else, you know? So
Well, just to add to that, I remember being in different places and seeing a white person, and I'm saying this because you have to bring in the difference in race, because that's how shocked I was. He came in, or even a lady did it once, and started to speak, and I was, who's talking? He's speaking more St. Martin dialect than I was. I was like,
yeah.
what?
Yeah.
It gave me goosebumps. I felt for some reason,
And then
I
you
felt
feel
so
home, you
proud.
feel like a connection, you feel
Yeah.
something. It's like,
I felt
yeah.
like you're from here. Like,
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah.
There's the language, and I'm speaking proper.
Exactly.
You embrace this whole thing.
Yeah.
You're from here,
Yeah.
and it's rare that you get someone who's clear or white skin to completely
Embrace all of it, yeah.
all of the culture,
Yeah.
not just the nice, the beaches, the culture, the way we dress, the foods, but also the language.
Yeah,
and to
huge.
see that he's from here. He grew his family from here or
Yeah.
whatever, and I'm like, oh my lord.
yeah.
So amazing.
So
And
you
they're
see?
rare. They're
Yeah.
super rare.
And
but
and
it's
you
amazing.
love it. You love it. We love when, like, you know, people come and that they're not coming to be separate, but they come in to be a part of and take in
Yes.
all of the islands.
Yes,
So true.
Yes. Oh.
So we were talking about being away, studies that you did. How did your language play into that experience? Did you have any challenges in, you know, your educational experience because of your language, or in the academic sector was it okay?
Well, for English, not so much so, because remember my mom got married to my stepdad, who I said my dad, and he taught us the proper way to speak. So I've always been interested in English. I've always loved English.
I remember you telling me before one time, hey, if I could have married this language, I would marry this language. This is how much she loves English.
Yes, I love English. It's a comfortable language, and I feel like I'm me when I'm speaking
That's it. It's your heart language, yeah.
But in French now, I feel like I'm an alien trying to get somebody else's language, and I don't feel safe. Basically, I don't feel
Wow.
safe. It's not my comfort zone. It always has been that way up until today. And I went to school in Martinique, and you know, it's French, but I studied English, so I was like so glad. I had a lot of English literature, American literature, English books to read. But there was this moment I had to present myself in front of a jury and tell them where I'm from and, present myself. So I told them I'm from St. Martin and I am an English-speaking, I'm Anglophone.
Anglophone.
The teacher, the the teacher who was there, one of them, he's like, I'm sorry, no, you're francophone. You're French speaking. I said, no, I'm Anglophone. And he's like, no, you're francophone. So I paused because I'm like, I'm telling you.
I'm telling you who I am.
I am.
Yeah.
My background and my language, and you're telling me that I'm a French speaking person? Really?
Wow.
You know that?
Wow.
And he's like, and he tried to break it down that, okay, I'm a French speaking person because St. Martin is French. But that's not my culture.
Yeah.
St. Martin is French, true, but we've forever speaking English at home.
Yeah. That if you know the history of of St. Martin, which I guess he probably is not aware of, that legally it's French, but the language of the people is English.
It is English. And I felt really, I walked out there feeling bad because I felt bad because he kind of forced it on me. I couldn't leave. After a while, I just accepted what he said because I wanted to get in a class.
Yeah. Wow.
So I felt bad because I'm like, why would he say that I'm a French speaking person when I know it's not that?
But that is so that's deep to me because this is why I said language is so intertwined with your identity, and that is somebody again telling you who you are. And you have to know who you are, So that's why it's important for us to understand that history and where we're coming from, so that when somebody said that, we could be like, no, let me explain,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and now it's today, after a while, after I realized that he said that from his point of view, from his position, but he has no idea.
Yeah, that's it.
Where we come from.
No, he sure doesn't. Okay, how does your language influence your writing style? Because we also know that you have the book translated into French as well too. So you have it in English and French. How does it influence your writing style, and why did you think to also produce it in French as well?
Okay, the language influence. So English, as I said, was really comforting to me, but sometimes writing it, I would write what I hear, even because you're just writing, and then I would look back and read back like, oh, you just really wrote that. I want to say I'm here, but I would write I'm here. For example, it's just a little example. So there's that, and the part where the French now, I know, okay, I'm bilingual. There's a lot of French speaking people here on the island, so I should probably do one in French, but then I backed away from that thought. Then a French-speaking friend of mine, sister from church, she was like, you have to do it in English, right? I mean, in French, right? And I said, if I'm doing it, you're going to help me. So she did. She helped me, and that's how we got it done.
You got it done in French as well, too. Okay. Awesome. And that's important because my takeaway on the whole thing with language is you have to know where we're from, but I think languages are beautiful, and having access to more languages gives you the opportunity to speak to more people. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I encourage it, being bilingual, trilingual, that's all really, really good. It empowers you. So, and by you producing that book in French, now there's more people that can hear this great word, this great message. So that's why I find it is very powerful and important.
It is, and even at home now, growing up, as I said, we spoke English at home, but with my children, because I've had so many difficulties at school with the French, I've tried mostly to speak French at home. So my eldest daughter, she's one of the best French speaking persons in her class. Now I have a 2-year-old. She speaks both French and English because her dad is from Dominica. But she understands everything I tell her in French, and she responds in French. Some things he would tell her, she would pause, and I would say it in French. He would have to say it in French, and then she would do whatever, because now she's more closer to the French. And some people would say that's bad, you're not teaching your child your local language. English is and I had somebody told me that the last time, last month. And the way I look at it is I'm getting them ready to face out there.
Mm.
Out there in class is French. School, the entire school system is French. And I do not want them to have the difficulties that I've had. I want them to feel comfortable when they open their mouths and have to speak French. Whether they wouldn't have that fear that I always struggled with.
Yeah.
You imagine in class I had the answers, but would think, okay, is it le ou la?
Yeah. Wow.
Don't say anything. Just stay quiet.
Wow.
And I don't not want that for them. So I'm like, yeah, they're gonna learn English. English is all over.
Yep.
But I'm gonna make sure they know French
Yeah.
as good as they should.
Yeah, in that sense, you're empowering them.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's
That's the way I
empowering.
see it. That's the way I see it.
Awesome. Do you have any tips for language learners? So either adults learning a language, or maybe you want to speak to people helping their children to learn languages, since you're doing that with your kids.
Yeah. Also being a teacher on the French side, we're faced with a lot of children who I'm saying a lot of a lot of children who speak
Filler words.
English or
Spanish, maybe.
Spanish or Creole. They don't really speak the French, and that is the reason. For that reason, it's really hard for them to grasp what they're learning, and it's from kindergarten to all the way up. So the tip I would give, especially to parents, even if you cannot speak the language, your children really love TV, try to get Canal Sat, get French TV, or put on French YouTube channels and get them in the French however you can. English, they will definitely learn it because they're already speaking it and it's all around them. But the French, because you want them to succeed out there in school, seeing that St. Martin is French, you have to also go on that side and try to get them ready for what's out there. Because then when it comes to job search and all these other things, you need to have them prepped.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was our interview with Miss Prisca George. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do you want to say any closing words about Taught to be Fearless, language, anything? We're just taking up time because...
Well, what I would like to say is Taught to be Fearless is also on social media because, people spend so much time online. It's on Instagram. Taught to be Fearless is also on Facebook. We're coming out with some shirts now. This one is you are not disqualified, God is still choosing you.
Yes.
And it's basically fearlessly representing God out there. This can touch somebody else, because it's not about me. Basically, I'm not going out there to talk about me. It's to reach someone else who needs to know that God loves you, and to do it fearlessly. So this is our shirt. This is coming out it's out now. And you can find it on Instagram or on our Facebook page.
So it's available now for purchasing?
Yes,
okay.
It's available now.
Awesome.
You hit
I'll have
us
to
up.
put the
Hit us
link
up.
with it.
Hit us up on Instagram or Facebook and you order your shirt.
Okay,
Yeah.
That sounds great. And in my mind, it's just like, you see, again, it's words. So you're sending a message with words.
Yeah, because
And it's empowering.
I mean, if you're gonna wear a shirt, you might as well wear one that brings a good message, right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, guys, so that concludes this podcast episode. Catch us the next time on the Linguistic Isle. Ciao. Okay. And hello, listeners. I hope you guys enjoyed part 2 of the Linguistic Isle episode interview with Miss Prisca George. And this episode focused more on the relationship between language and culture and identity. So let's take a look at 2 significant words that were brought up in this episode. You can see it means French speaking or a person who speaks French. Then we have Anglophone. What does that mean? English speaking or an English speaking person. So let's think back on today's discussion. Prisca mentioned that one of her instructors said she was francophone, but she felt she was an anglophone. Well, here's the thing. In St. Martin, even though people There are many people who are bilingual or speak multiple languages. This is why going back to what is your mother tongue is very important, because you can speak another language, but your mother tongue refers to the language that is your thinking language, your heart language, the language that is easiest for you to express emotions and use language in a non-formal, figurative type of way. So for this reason, it's not just about what you speak, but it's what you speak and what you think of first. And in this case, for most St. Martin people, English is the language that they think in. So thus, we consider ourselves Anglophone. So where does this come from? We mentioned in the episode that it has to do with history. So I'm gonna take us to a text from Language, Culture, and Identity by Miss Rhoda Arundel. So hang on while I get the text. So here's a quote. From the beginning period of European settlement, Englishmen from North America settled in both parts of St. Martin, and most immigrants were English speaking. Enslaved people were shipped to St. Martin from Africa by way of the slave auction. Ports or blocks and plantations on neighboring islands, notably St. Kitts and St. Eustatius. It is also thought that smuggling of enslaved people directly from Africa and from within the region through the Simpson Bay Lagoon occurred well after the Dutch aborted the slave trade in 1814. We are already beginning to see why English, or an English-based language, is the dominant medium of social interaction in St. Martin, although the island was possessed by the Dutch, the French, and other European powers. During times of low productivity in St. Martin, plantation owners, because they also own property on the neighboring islands, are reported to have hired out the people they had enslaved to plantations on islands such as St. Bartholomew, St. Eustatius, Sombrero, and St. Thomas. This coming together of people from different backgrounds in such small spaces also required a lingua franca, with English emerging as a default choice. So let's also look again at the map. If you see where St. Martin is located in the Northeast Caribbean, you can see that we are surrounded and close to many other islands, and most of which are English-speaking islands or territories. So my thinking is, geographically where we are based, the influence and the migration between these islands really influence our history of being an English-speaking island by nature. Yes, we have St. Barth, St. Eustatius, and Saba, who also are territories that were colonized by either the French or the Dutch. But because they are so small, they have a similar history to ours, where they would also have influence of English. And as I watch the map, I see that as you go more south, from Guadeloupe to St. Lucia, here we have islands that Creole is very strongly used. And I think that that's because as you go down the map, these islands become bigger, populations are larger, and they're not surrounded by islands the way St. Martin is, and have this mass migration that's continuously going on. So I think that this also plays into why St. Martin is by nature an Anglophone island. Well, this summarizes this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed. This discussion is going to continue.